So this story broke this week about 39-year-old Julia Anderson, who unfortunately was gunned down outside of her job in the Bronx on Monday, July 13th.
Reason why somebody would have been targeting her?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure.
Beverly Patterson is in a state of shock after her daughter, 39-year-old Julia Anderson, was shot and killed overnight, leaving the group home where she worked with disabled adults.
In the deadly shooting of a woman in the Bronx, her uncle is now charged with her murder. And police say the motive involved an ongoing family dispute over the inheritance of a home. Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis is live at the courthouse in Melrose. Marcus?
And Sade, that dispute had been going on for a few months. In April, Michael Foster had his charge filed against his niece, claiming she forged his name on a deed. That charge was eventually dropped because investigators say he didn't cooperate with them. Now prosecutors say he had his niece murdered. Michael Foster said nothing as detectives walked him out of the 47th precinct last night. That's just a mile from where the NYPD crime scene unit spent hours collecting evidence, removing weapons, including a long gun from his house in Mount Vernon, the same two-family home where his niece Julia Anderson lived. The 39-year-old was shot to death Monday night in her car just after leaving work. Omaira Andino is the CEO of the nonprofit organization the victim worked for 17 years.
There's not one bad word uttered about her. She cared so much about the people that she supports. We even wanted to give her a promotion at one point, and she said, no, I love what I'm doing.
That work was providing care for developmentally disabled adults. Anderson had just completed her 4 to midnight shift and was parked across the street from the group home when she was shot multiple times. The bullets fired from the passenger side of her Jeep.
Now, when the story first broke, as you've seen in the video, the mom was like, she couldn't understand who would want to do any type of harm to her daughter. She didn't have any enemies. The people at the group home spoke highly of her, so, people start to have these theories like maybe it was an ex-boyfriend, it's always some sort of domestic abuse or domestic situation that could have occurred in the past. But not even a day or two after the crime was committed, the police apprehended her damn uncle, 58-year-old Michael Foster. And then the report started coming out as to what the motive may have been. So apparently this started over a dispute over inheriting the family home. So back in 2023, the grandmother, Isilda Foster, she had passed away, and she decided to leave the house to her oldest grandchild. Of course, this upset Michael Foster here. And, I guess he started formulating some sort of plot to kind of, X her out. And they had like a court date because he said that allegedly she forged his name on a deed. And they were supposed to go to court back in April. I guess they ended up dropping the case because he never showed up. So I guess his plan was, well, I'm just going to eliminate her altogether, which is evil. And it kind of makes you think about if you're from the streets and you know the story of Alpo and Rich and, all the things that Rich Porter went through and having his younger brother kidnapped by his own uncle, and then Rich Porter being taken out by who was supposed to be his best friend at the time, Alpo. So, obviously she's not in that world or anything, but it's like family, the people closer to you will do you the dirtiest, man. It's crazy. And what's even more crazier about this story is that the uncle had did time in the past because he was involved in a drive-by back in 1988 that killed the father of NFL football player Ray Rice. Now, we all know Ray Rice. He was disgraced from the NFL after, that video came out of him, beating his woman up in the elevator. He never played a game in the NFL ever again after that. But I think he won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, back in 1988, her uncle was involved in that shooting. I think he only did like 7 years or something like that, and he was released. So, when he went to court, the prosecutor, that was one of the first things that they brought up, and he was like, "Listen, man, this is the second person that this guy has killed. He should not be on the streets." And you know what's crazy? Like, I think in a lot of communities, a lot of families, there's like an uncle who never really did anything noteworthy with his life. You know, he probably had like an alcohol issue, some sort of addiction, found himself, you know, just sleeping on, you know, the grandma's couch because he was probably like a mama's boy. So she felt bad kicking him out. So she kind of like tolerated a lot of the BS, you know what I'm saying, that he probably brought to the house. And, you know, he was just there buying time, you know, waiting for her to pass so he can, you know, inherit the family home. You know, but you know, most times the grandmother, they're not leaving that house to that individual because that individual is probably more than likely irresponsible. They probably, you know, gonna have all their little crackhead buddies in there, you know, tearing it up, you know, selling everything, diminishing the value of the home. And then that home is just gonna go into foreclosure. So, you know, the grandmother, you know, I guess in this case felt like the granddaughter was more responsible. She probably was handling her business, and you know the grandmother saw something in her, so she wanted to leave the house to her, and she knew that she would take good care of it. And now, you know, we don't know what what's going to happen with the house, and it's unclear whether or not the uncle was the brother of her mom or if it was on her dad's side. You know, that hasn't been reported yet, but either way, man, this is a crazy story, and it just shows you like in certain families, man, like greed will really get the best of us, and you can lose your life to the person that's closest to you. You wouldn't even, you know what I'm saying, and you wouldn't even expect it because you thinking it's all love, you thinking it's family, but man, I tell you, man, sometimes blood is not thicker than water, man. Blood is not thicker than water, man. But y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think, man. Rest in peace to, you know, Julia Anderson, man. This is a very sad story. And you know, hopefully the uncle rots in that prison because for you to do something like this to your own niece, man, just for a house, like how about you work your ass off and get your money up to the point where you can afford to, you know, buy your own house? Like, why you got to do this to your niece in order to, you know, obtain the house? Like that was just crazy, man. Continue to subscribe to the channel. Continue to hit that like button, hit that share button, man. I appreciate y'all. Till next time. Peace.